Let's wander New York City in search of weird and interesting street art in the form of posters and stickers put up by who knows who, and for who knows what reason, and let's see what we can discover. On this channel, I come to you in the very opposite of bright technicolor, because you see, I'm an artiste, and I have an artistic vision. But don't you worry, all the art will be presented in all its colorful glory. And in fact, let's not waste any time. Here's our very first discovery. Somewhere right behind the Whitney, which is a famous art museum in the meatpacking district here in New York City, lies this strange structure. And I'm not really sure exactly what this is. I know it's a convenient place for someone to park their shopping cart full of their belongings, and it also houses a whole bunch of interesting stickers put up by street artists and probably other strange characters, and we thank them. On this structure I saw this magnificent insignia, which admittedly is not very colorful, but we'll get to the color. But this solved a mystery for me, because I've been seeing a lot of this piece around. I've been seeing this in multiple places, and when I first saw this, I thought it appears to say time. I noticed a clock and everything, but it doesn't quite spell time, does it? The letters are very hard to kind of make out. It's time, T-Y-M-E, and we are dealing with the Time Intelligence Agency. We know everything is their slogan, and they keep showing this 444 pattern, which, as far as I can figure out, is some kind of numerology thing, or also potentially a religious thing. But yeah, I guess it's an angel number, whatever that means, and it denotes good luck, good fortune, something like that. I don't know. I don't really subscribe to these theories. I recommend that you stay away from them as well. But I do enjoy it in street art. I love these kinds of sort of world-building exercises where somebody is creating a whole bunch of different pieces that seem to have sort of its own internal logic. And I figured with this discovery of the Time Intelligence Agency, I'd be able to actually Google this and find out more. But I didn't really find a whole lot. Searching for it basically brought up two links. One that seemed either broken or irrelevant, and one, well, you can see it right here. I was pretty confused how this has anything to do with this piece at first. This is from a Web3 website, which, if you don't know what Web3 is, I warmly recommend that you stay in the dark on that. But anyway, when I clicked around, I found this post, which is clearly another image in the same series that someone had spotted in Brooklyn. And I thought it was interesting that this thing said time machine like that. So then I went and Googled that, and that search didn't yield a whole lot either, except for this interesting story about a kind of a brand of ATMs that I think used to exist in Wisconsin, and that some people in Wisconsin would call ATMs time machines, which would confuse other people from other states. That's a pretty interesting story, but it has very little to do, I think, with this street art series. So let's move on to the next discovery. We're gonna stay with that strange structure behind the Whitney Museum, because there's a lot of interesting pieces on there, including this series of what I believe are alternative tarot cards. Now, I think probably every single person watching this video, all 7 of you, knows more about tarot cards than I do, so I'm not gonna linger and talk too much about this, but I really like this sort of dreamlike texture or grain in these that probably comes from basically cheap printing technology, but I like how it looks. It kind of places a veil over all these images and makes them feel more cohesively, part of a whole as well. I also enjoy the relationship between the words and the images. So, for example, this toilet is paired with the word frame, which I understand, because frame is, I think, sort of a slang word for toilet. And some of the other ones are obvious, but I'm less sure how these rocks go with the word flexibility. I mean, rocks aren't typically thought of as particularly flexible. But yeah, I like that looking at these, I'm sometimes able to see how these things connect, and other times I feel a little lost. It's more interesting that way. Also, why is there a part of a fork among these rocks? Also, if you thought I was gonna comment on this round sticker below the tarot cards, you were sorely, sorely mistaken. As sore as your butt after a meal at Taco Bell. Okay, so yet another sticker on the same structure. I just thought this was a lovely little tiny painting, and the artist's name is right on here. Looking at it, I guessed that her name was Yka Petrova, but actually it turns out her full name is Yka Petrova, and she is a Czech artist who is in school, I guess? Student at Academy of Fine Arts in Prague. And I gotta say, wow, this work is really mature, really, really good. I love this painting style. I think most of these are really good. What a fun discovery. I'm following her on Instagram for sure. Check her out. I'm probably saying her name wrong, but Yka Petrova. I don't know, sounds convincing to me. Moving right along, if you thought that I knew very little about tarot cards, just wait till you find out how little I know about religion. Except of course that it too is absolute total bull. But that doesn't mean that I can't enjoy this piece, which I think is actually really amazing. I think this is beautiful. One of my favorite things is when street art is made better by the wear and tear and decay and entropy of the street. And I suspect that's the case here. This piece is probably nowhere near as beautiful in its original form, but the simplicity of the shapes that remain is wonderful. Notice how the orange of the streetlight actually becomes his skin color, where the sticker has worn off. I really love that this human figure is so clearly rendered with such kind of minimalist shapes. Also, that blue wave coming in from the left is kind of giving Coca-Cola, like as if Messiah is a product for sale, which actually is pretty right on. The crown at the top left also underlines that for me. It's sort of like, I know that this crown is presumably a symbol of God and Jesus and whatnot, but for me it more so reminds me of how like tea packaging from Europe is always like, this product is manufactured for the royal court. And it makes the product seem like super classy. Even though I'm not religious, I would definitely have a sip of this Messiah drink based on this piece of like beautiful minimalist advertising. I would try it. Unless the drink was Jesus' blood, then I'd probably be like, nah, no thank you. Staying with the religious theme, or maybe sacrilegious theme. I'm sorry about that, by the way. If you're religious, listen, you know, praise be. I did want to show you this intriguing gospel, although I don't have a whole lot to say about it as a work of art, so I'm just gonna skip on ahead. Okay, so the final piece in this video is this Lenny Vuitton thing, which appears to be a playful Americanization of Louis Vuitton, the famed French fashion designer. The way the Lenny part of the name is squashed and stretched like that, it sort of further invokes the idea of a fake Chinatown knockoff brand, a fake copy. And speaking of fake copy, if you know anything about art, you know that yellow crown in the corner belongs to one of my all-time favorite artists, Jean-Michel Basquiat. In fact, everything about this piece owes something to Basquiat. So, not very original, but I still like it, you know. Also, I really love the edges here, which I imagine were formed by a previous sticker. Although then there's also like, someone has vigorously scratched it out for whatever reason. You know, I have no idea like what happened here or what this is all about, but I just love how it looks. It frames the piece in a certain way. I just love that when you post art on the street always becomes a collaborator. Alright, that's where I'll end it, although I just realized I forgot to wear my hat during this whole video. I cannot believe that I recorded a whole video without wearing my hat. Like, that's my one thing. So now with my hat on, I can say thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this little street art treasure hunt, you're in luck because I actually have a whole other video with 5 other pieces, so check that out. And by the way, this is a brand new channel. I'm making videos for creative people on these topics, so please do subscribe. And with that typical YouTube refrain, I will bid thee farewell. May your neighborhood provide you with comparable strange vibes, although not the kind of strange vibes that denote any kind of danger for you or your family and or pet. You know, you can say a lot about me, but you can't deny I'm getting pretty good at these outros. All right, I'll see you next week.